Hi, I'm Leather Rock. Welcome to the channel. It's actually quiet. Can you believe it? It's because it is 10:30. Those noisy sons of bitches finally left. And we're about to do some cooking. Come with me. And I have to watch my step here. Because my mother has a medical appointment, I think tomorrow, and her walker's out. And she needs that to be able to get to the bus stop. And we are now going to come into my messy kitchen here. And I've taken the liberties of got the water boiling already for the potatoes. We're going to make something called Indian potatoes. And that's kind of a working name for a dish that I've been making for over 10 years. The ingredients can vary depending on what you have on hand. Obviously, since I call it potatoes, the main ingredient is potatoes, but you can use different kinds of potatoes. You can mix sweet potatoes in with it. You can throw in other things like turnips or parsnips or carrots if you can find them, but they should be mostly potatoes so that you can really show off the spices that are a real, very crucial part of this dish. I've got to find a safe place to put this computer that will show you what I'm about to do and also not show too much, especially since I don't have a zoom for the camera. Uh, Maybe I can sit. I'm going to be doing some balancing things here. And I'm going to move around the um, burners I'm going to be using. I don't usually use the back burners because we have mice living in the stove. And I don't know how to get them to not live there, but I certainly don't want to burn them or anything. So, but I have water on the boil right here. But what I'm going to do actually is I want to switch burner. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to do this. But you know what? When I get these on, I'm going to be using another burner. Okay. Let me see. Getting the view here. Got to remember not to burn myself here. I already scrubbed these potatoes. Oh, it would help if I put the fire on. I already scrubbed these potatoes ahead of time. And I don't ever take the peeling off my potatoes because there's so many vitamins in them. Oh, don't you guys. My mother really wanted this tonight. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put some salt in the water. These, sometimes they mislabel the potatoes. Like, for instance, I saw these red potatoes were labeled as yellow potatoes. And Dump Star, hey, howdy, howdy, howdy. How are you doing today? The fire's still going on at Central Pier, by the way. Um, some certain person I know called my mother and saw it from himself from up above. He had a hotel room up there, and it's burning, and it's really fucked up there. I had a real fun job there one year. I was a paintball target. They put me in some protective clothing like padding and stuff. Good to see you too. Since I haven't figured out how to use those other two tablets I have, this is my only device, so I have not had a whole lot of time to be able to watch other people's stuff. But once I learn how to use those other devices, then I can use other devices for day job bullshit, and then I could actually watch people and do stuff. Maybe Saturday I might be doing a live stream from the City Hall area. 420, as you guys know, happens to be Saturday, and there's something going on in the park where the bus turnaround is, starting around 9:30 or so in the morning, and that's about when the library opens. So I can, and I'm going to be taking a laundry cart with wheels and stuff, but they don't let you bring carts in the library. They're real fucked up about that. So I can leave the cart in the park with a bunch of people, some of which you probably have met, Dumpstar. When you were here in Atlantic City, you met a couple of people on the boardwalk who I very well expect are going to be at this thing. But they're going to have some churches there with all kinds of free food. They're going to have clothes and cup of noodles. I love those cup of noodles. I love ramen noodles. I don't care. I never get tired of ramen noodles. But okay, these I already measured the water and how much it took up when I put the potatoes in here. But I'm just going to cut them very carefully and hopefully not cut any fingers off, because I'm live here and it would really be embarrassing if I've got to be known as a girl who had to give up playing guitar because she cut her fingers off cooking potatoes live on YouTube. So, but I'm holding it very carefully. I'm not stupid. I never start the water boiling before I even have everything cut up. I'm just trying to save time on this stream. See what these look like. I went to the Bangladeshi food distribution thing this morning. Well, it was right after. Okay, I don't know if everybody knows this already, but I watch a lot of those affirmation videos and those subliminal videos, and they attract Fixamoto. I think that name is so cool. I think that just really has attitude and is just clever. I always wanted to tell you that. But I listen to a lot of these subliminal audio that you can find here free on YouTube, and some of them you can sleep to. They're real long ones, and some of them are short, and they sound like either music or nature, but they have subliminals in it, and they're for everything from losing fat to different aspects of self improvement to attracting money to living the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, to whatever, manifesting what your goals are. And I have been working with these for 9, 10 months now, and it started off with the money mantras, and it got into the subliminals, and there are so many, I think, pretty good subliminal makers. But how good they are, I guess, all comes down to if you start to see results. And sometimes, every now and then, I get glimmers of evidence that there is something to it. I don't want to get into it too much now because I don't want to jinx things. But, like, for instance, there was this one that was about getting your abs and working on your waistline and stuff. And it was like a 7-day ab challenge or something involved in weight loss and stuff. And the thing is, this is something that you could get results even if you didn't work out to it. But it seems to me that you should be working out anyway. And I started working out again, and I really enjoy it. And I missed it, when I was doing it. So, hey, hold that tiger, hold that tiger, hold that tiger. Woman with a knife. But yeah, my mom really loves this, and I just splashed myself with hot boiling water. That's not good. But these are real good. I wish I had some parsnips or rutabagas. Oh, they're so good. The turnips. I haven't seen a parsnip in a couple of years. I think those are like heirloom vegetables that a lot of people don't grow too much these days. And you just have to, It depends on what is for sale in your supermarkets, or if you happen to have the luck to grow them. But I think all the root vegetables, you need to have soil that you really have broken up all the stones and stuff. Any kind of, I've never tried growing root vegetables, even though I have a little potato plant growing on my windowsill. It's funny, I have a potato in one planter, I have a tomato in the other planter. And now's the time to have your seedlings, start them indoors before the soil gets warm enough where I live to set the garden out. And I could put tomato plants over near where my cat's grave is. People already started with those big cages that look like tornadoes that people train their tomatoes with. I already see them setting them out. I have a wee little bitty carrot in there also. I don't want to. You never want to overdo the carrots because they sweeten it up too much. Now, so far, the only thing I have in this water is salt. I know I have a lot more potatoes to put in, but now is a good time to start thinking about the seasonings. And one very important thing I want to do with this is I want to get started with the aromatics. When you have carrots and celery and onions chopped together, that mixture is called a mirepoix. That's French, and that is something a lot of chefs use. I don't have any professional training or anything, but I do watch as many cooking videos as you all probably do, and you can't help but learn from them. And so I'm going to take this pot. This is actually a non-stick coating pot. So I'm real careful not to use it to boil anything in because I have a tendency to sometimes burn things when I boil things, and you don't want to screw up a non-stick pot. So I've never use this for boiling things, but I am going to use this for some frying. And I don't measure anymore because, well, I just rarely do, unless I'm doing something like baking or something where you obviously have to. But a lot of times I just eyeball things. You see, I got some oil here and stuff out of the way of the fire. When I, okay, I'm going to set these things over here. And I'm gonna started frying up this mirepoix, and you know what? I'm gonna just because it always cooks down. See this? And anything involving carrots is gonna take a while, but they're very very thinly sliced. They're like some of them are practically shaven, and then some of them have that fine chop. And see, this saves me having to. I was just gonna chop onions and maybe chop a little celery, but now I don't have to do that. You know what? I want to get something good to stir things with. Uh, if I had my druthers, I would always use wood. I love wood. One thing I hate is when chefs use metal and they scrape it against a metal pan. That's just, oh, I hate the sound of that. It bothers me so much. I mean, I don't care how much training he has, I don't care how good his food is. If you're going to be scratching metal against metal, I can't. I don't really like doing this because I don't like plastic on heated surface. Uh, Sound lighting great. Sloth cat. Oh, I like that. that name. I love sloths. I think they're just adorable. And I love so many things about their general nature. And they have these eyes that just draw you in. And that's kind of similar to one of my, I have a username for one of those sites that you take surveys on and you watch videos on and stuff. And it's Stage Cat. So Sloth Cat, Stage Cat. That's cool. So when I made when I put in the description for this video, I mentioned that this was going to be potatoes and politics. So now I have to be careful what I say because I have gotten the rebroadcasts of my live streams taken down before because I made one sentence that was a forbidden concept to say, and it was something political I said. And I'm going to try not to say that. You know that there's things I can't say. So, and there's what we're mostly thinking. But let me turn this fire down for a second because I'm going to do something that you're not supposed to do, and I'm going to walk away from the stove for a second. But hold on. Okay. I know the red's clashing with the pink, but I thought that I had to make a little bit of a statement while I'm cooking here. Okay. So let me give this mirepoix a stir, and already I can start to smell things. These are considered to be aromatics, even though I'm not tempted to think of a carrot is particularly aromatic because carrots are oftentimes used to sweeten the dish. If you're making a tomato sauce, a lot of times people will throw a carrot in to counteract the acidity. Okay, now it's time to start making some sloth cat. This working name for this we call Indian potatoes, and it's. I know it might be a little controversial because there are aspects of the seasoning that I would think most people would associate with India. Um, but I've been making this for over 10 years. My mother loves it. And I love Indian cuisine where I have had. I certainly love stuff I've had in Hare Krishna temples. Now, this is a dish that you can make vegetarian or not. It all depends on what you put in it. Right now, I want to throw in some spices. One of the things I like to do with this is I like to make a garam masala. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. And that's a combination of spices. You could go to a store and buy things, but it's much more fun to make it yourself. And that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to do this all from memory. I'm not consulting a list. I might possibly screw up early and forget something, but I probably won't because the basic spice mixture is kind of it is what it is, and if I have it, I'll use it. One thing I'm totally out of, by the way, right now is black pepper. I am out of black pepper, and that's the most basic thing to have. And I was going to go up to that dollar store, which is ironically burned up right now. It's at the Central Pier, which is on fire. Isn't that a kick in the head? Hey, Tiger, you've been in uh, Central Pier before, haven't you? It's burning right now. Isn't that a shame? I could have put more potatoes in there. You can see this is left over, but you know, you know what I'm going to do? See these two little sweet potatoes? I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to throw them in there, and then I'm going to start adding some spices. I think this is technically a bread knife, by the way. Okay. Sweet potatoes, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are a great source of vitamin A. Vitamin A especially is good for women. They say you can get phytoestrogens there that are much safer than estrogens that people might be taking if they're thinking about taking HRC. Not that I know about these things, but when Suzanne Stubbers started taking HRC, she was under a doctor's care, so she was able to always be checking her hormone levels and all that stuff. And I always thought that I would love to keep myself on an even keel and not have accelerated signs of aging and everything. But then they started doing studies that suggested that whenever you mess with hormones, there's a serious cardiovascular risk. And since my mother has heart failure, and I have lots of heart disease in my family, it's me. It's not something I wanted to be taking chances with. Where's that other little? I just have another little. Oh, here it is. See, it's a cute little sweet potato. Don't do it like this. All right. Now, if I had a whole lot of red pepper flakes, I'd go ahead and throw them in the pot. Uh, you know what? I just need to bring the step stool in here and take a look at what's up in the cupboard. And now there's one, what's considered basic important ingredient in a garam masala that I will not cook with, and it's called asafoetida, if that's how you pronounce it. There's another name for it called hing, and it's a very foul-smelling spice that some people say it's so foul-smelling it almost smells biological. Okay, so for that reason, I won't use it. But that said, it also has metaphysical purposes. You can put it in certain protective incenses or something. I have some, but it's in with my magical goodies, and I've never even opened it, and I certainly am not going to cook with it. But a lot of times it's used in places where we would use garlic and onions. For some reason, some Hindus and the people in the Hare Krishna movement, they do not use onions or garlic. They believe that it somehow is an affront to Krishna. I don't know if it's because it inflames the passions and distracts you, ties you to Maya, so that you don't go, so that you stay in the cycle of birth and death, reincarnation and birth and death, and you get stuck in this. And if you want to escape the reincarnation and go back to Godhead, you want to be less attached to the senses, and that's supposedly the garlic and the onions uh, are part of what attaches you to the senses or something. This is my basic watered down explanation for what I think is my understanding of why they don't cook with these things. Uh, I kind of like the senses that are part of being human. So, uh, thank you. Oh, that was such a nice thing to say. Danielle says, thank you for working so hard to make this content. You know, I haven't gone live in quite a while. And I heard through the grapevine that people missed when I did that. Okay, I got to find some spices to put in here. The number one most important thing you got to have is turmeric. Turmeric is so important. It's normally a root. You can get it frozen and you could shave little parts of it and then chop it up. But I love when it's ground up like this. It just, and with this, a little goes a long way. This has to totally soften up before this goes in with the potatoes. When you add, from my experience, when you add powders to an oil, unless there's a lot of oil and just a little bit of powders, the powder can thicken up with the oil and it can cause things to burn. So you got to be real careful when you add oil to it. That said, oil is how turmeric really shines. And by shaking just a little bit onto this, and I'm going to let you see what it looks like. This will turn the whole thing gold and it'll stain the potatoes such a lovely color. Now, one thing you'll note in a mirepoix, there's no garlic in this. There's only these three things. I am going to use garlic, but I'm going to wait until this is nice and softened up before I touch garlic to that. Now I'm going to shake a little shake of this in with this water. Ooh, and I just splashed boiling water on my instep of my feet. Yeah, this is live, folks. And I never said I was an expert, but I do love to eat, and it helps if you love to eat to love to cook. And I don't love to cook everything, but if there's things that I really love to eat, and this I just think is wonderful. All right, I've got minced garlic here. Whoops. And I've got powdered garlic here. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw a couple of bay leaves in with this water. I kind of maybe should have done that from the beginning. Bay leaves are actually from a tree called laurel. And sometimes I throw a bay leaf in with rice when I put rice in the steamer. But these are best when you give them time to boil in something. One of the things that drives me crazy is when I see a chef throw in a bay leaf when he's only going to be boiling something for like 20 minutes. It's like, use this so that you can cook it and get the stuff out of this. Yeah. Yes, I've heard that. The only black pepper I would have for sure would be a measly little, those tiny little packets that have like a half of its salt and half of its pepper. And I usually get a lot of my spices I get at the dollar stores, and I usually get three at a time of things like black pepper. And uh, and the thing is, I had to move spices. I usually keep the spices here safely on shelves, but anything that's exposed, we have a whole lot of mice here. And they're cute, fuzzy little things, but they're messy. And one of the things they do is they'll eat the labels off of things. I noticed that. And until recently, they were never in the cabinets here, but I see that they did get in the cabinets here. But I try to really keep things closed, except for this. There's a cabinet door here that I keep open so that the sunlight doesn't come so much into the kitchen. Because I have a real problem with sun on my skin, and there's no curtain there because it's a little bit out of the way. It's just as well because the curtain would be something else to clean. And I don't have any help with any of the cleaning around here. I'm taking care of my mother full time. She's 83 years old. She can't walk around and do things. Her mobility is very limited. She's been sleeping a lot lately. And so there are so many things that I know need to be done, but I'm the only person to do absolutely everything. And plus, being a content creator, which is very important to me and something that I enjoy. And really, if it wasn't for having this outlet, it it makes so much easier. Plus, it's a way of shedding a light on some things that I think are important. And plus, I love, frankly, sharing my family. I know whenever I have my mother on, everybody loves it. Whenever I have cats, people love it. I tried to find Garfield today. I couldn't find him. Yesterday, when it was raining, I saw him on somebody's porch, and I wasn't about to go trespassing on somebody's porch because those aren't anybody. I don't know anybody on that street where he's at, but I think people must know by now that I'm obviously not hurting him in any way. People have seen me carry him in my arms up busy streets, and I always have my bag of treats, the temptation treats. You know, cats love them. Um, oh, I'm very pleased to report that I thought that they mowed across where the garden is, and they actually didn't get around to it yet. So you still got a nice amount of wildflowers there. A lot more dandelions. I love dandelions. The more I read about dandelions, the more I realize how good they are. Not only the fact that every part of the plant is edible, but the things that they do for the soil. And of course, bees love them. And so, whenever people keep the wildflowers and these wild herbs and stuff growing, a lot of animals and insects that are just coming out of hibernation, that's their first food source. Okay, I'm going to assemble a bunch of spices here. Okay. First thing is a curry powder. I have three different kinds of curry powder. I'm going to get down and this. I'm getting onion powder, even though I technically don't need it and probably not going to use it because I have real onion here. Cinnamon, that's part of a garam masala. Yes, not a lot of it, but definitely. Ground cumin, definitely. This, I can't believe I'm almost out unless I have another source of it. Crushed red pepper, and you can get this. Even the pepper that they have the packets. When some people order pizzas, they give out these. I'm going to go ahead. You see, the one danger to putting a bunch of spices in the water, if you don't boil off all the water, then you have excess liquid that's full of the spicy thing. The whole idea is for it to cook down so that the spices flavor this, but meanwhile, you want to soften this up so that you can add it to the liquid. But this is a very, very, very small amount of pepper flakes. I have a feeling we probably have some more pepper flakes here, but it might be just in packets. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in with the water. One thing I have been told whenever you take red pepper or any kind of very spicy things and you put it in boiling water, supposedly the spice gets airborne and it bothers some people's eyes who are halfway down the hall. Doesn't bother me, but just because it doesn't bother me, that's not to say that my mother's observations are not valid. That said, she's hungry right now, and I don't think she's going to complain. Okay, see, this is yet another kind of curry powder, and you can see the colors on those two curry powders are totally different. This is a much brighter, yellower one, which suggests to me it has a lot more turmeric in it. And here, this one has more of a cumin color. Chandelier. Hello, Leather. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. Yes, I'm about to eat good. If my mother cannot starve by the time I get this done. Okay. Got parsley. I much prefer the fresh stuff, but it's a little early in the garden for that. But yeah. Uh, yes, yes, yes. This is something I love, this lemon pepper spice. I love to use this over steamed rice and tuna in oil. OMG. I can't say enough for this. this also takes the place of that. If say you're out of lemon juice and you want to put this over vegetables, even though I have lemon juice, but the thing is, you don't usually want to cook with lemon juice because you destroy all the vitamin C, and you don't want to destroy your vitamins if you can help it. Even though that said, I like my broccoli well cooked. I just some people like their crunchy vegetables, their crunchy stir fries. I like my broccoli soft. That's just the way it is. I love my asparagus fork tender. I even like canned asparagus. I don't care. I love asparagus. It's good for you too. I wish I had some right now. For a while there, we had kind of a nice amount of it, and it was coming in. I had a supply of it, and you work with it. If you all of a sudden find yourself having a source of something, like yesterday, the day before yesterday, somebody had a bunch of packages of ramen noodles, and I love ramen noodles. I don't care. I love this. Oh, this is a lipstick that I got on Timu, and it's a Chinese company. The packaging was very, very beautiful. It was all this gold faceted. I'll show it to you. I fucking love this. Oh man, I fucking love it. Check this out. I saw it. I had to have it. This is the tube it came in, and it didn't give you a selection of colors. It just seemed to be this one color, faceted. This looks so high end, and you could tell I've been using the heck out of it. And it smells kind of vanilla. It smells like MAC lipstick. You know that vanilla scent? So this is the tube and the box it came in. Look at the box it came in. Now I'm using this to store some other lipsticks, but this is the packaging. Most packaging we throw it out, right? Because it looks like it's what, a bubble wrap and a card, but this. So this is the company, and all told, this was $2 and change. This was sent to me as a present from my friend Cece, who we were roommates in Hollywood a few moons ago. Don't mind me, I'm just being a busybody. See, I don't want anything to burn here. And the thing is, uh, usually you're cooking things, and the thing that needs to cook the longest, you put that in first, and then you add things according to how long they take to cook so nothing burns. But in the case of a mirepoix, the onion starts to burn a little bit before the carrots get cooked. So, and we don't want things to be aromatic because something's burned. Let's face it, once something's burned, with very rare exceptions, it ruins the dish. So, I gotta keep the fire on lower, and I guess I gotta be stirring more. But anyway, I wanted to show you what this lipstick was. And so, yeah, my friend Cece got me this. Now, this top I just found the other day, and I wasn't sure it was even going to be small enough to fit me, but I figured if I could tuck it in. And the thing is, by the way, I know that the red is totally clashing with the pink. This color goes with these. These I had forever, but they hook up so easily to the garter belts, and they're so comfortable. And because the bottom is open, I can wear them with any socks. Oh, shoes! I just got the shoes. They are so comfortable. They're by a company called Tom's, and I don't know what you call them, boat shoes. They feel kind of like a sneaker. They got padding in them. Does anybody know anything about this company? But they've got like that. What do you call that braided? whatever. But they are, and this is, I usually wear a size 8, but this is an 8.5. But you know what? They're comfortable. I have bunions. My feet are sore all the time. I just got them the other day. Sometimes, though, when I wear them around the house as a slipper, I just step on the back of them so they're like a slipper. But they are, I have a pair of very bright blue sweatpants. They're like, okay, Danielle, your car, that bright electric blue of your car that says, "Wing." I have a pair of blue sweatpants that are totally match it. Okay, I'm going to stir this a little bit. This is starting to spit some. Sometimes I like to take green pepper, throw that in. Just for the heck of it, let me see if there is some here. I just wanted to show everybody. I have mentioned many times that I do my laundry by hand. This is what I wash my clothes in. Okay? I don't go to the laundromats and things. Most people probably use them or they use washer and dryer things, but these are big bowls like you might get a Caesar salad made for you, table side if you're with a big dinner party or something. I fill these up with water and laundry soap and I wash my clothes. Luckily, most of my clothes is little stuff like this, so it's easy to wash by hand. But you're dealing with things like sweatshirts and blue jeans and some of my mom's clothes. But this is how I wash my clothes, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But if that's what I have to do to keep my clothes from being dirty, that's where I'll do it. But just I'm just saying, if you wash your clothes using machines of any kind, don't take it for granted because not everybody does their wash them, and it's not easy. Let me see if there's any oops green peppers in it. There's a big freezer here. No, I mean they might be buried down in there, but they're not. Oh, yeah, I've never tried these, by the way. They're really good. They're basically just flattened out corn muffins, but they go real well in a toaster oven. And I'm not using this right now. I just got it out just for future reference. You can add ground beef to this, by the way. You could add ground pork to this. You don't have to, but it's something you can do. You could add cooked chicken breast to this. Um, you can add, oh, not this one. That was a science project. You can add a little bit of tomato product to this. You don't have to. It's good to add either ginger or coriander to this. Let's see what I have. Okay, I got ground coriander. All right, now you see how I've got the caramelization going on. This is what I wanted. You can smell caramelization. This is when the onions get this brown gold color, and the everything else is as soft as it's going to get before you start risking burning. Because I'm going to stick this in with this boiling water stuff with all the potatoes in it and carrots and a few sweet potatoes. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this right in with this. Okay. Mm. Oil is a very good carrier of spices, and you could have used any oil really. It's best to use an oil that has a high flash point that will tolerate heat for extended periods of time without degrading. That's the thing you want to make sure that there is a lot of oils that are really, really wonderful. They have all these triglycerides and omega fatty acids and omega 3s, omega 6s, omega 9s. Um, and but if you subject them to high temperatures for extended periods of time, the health benefits will become null and void. And matter of fact, it will increase the production of free radicals, which is not really what the human body wants. Free radicals accelerate aging, and they make your vitamins less bioavailable from the food you eat. Anything that interferes with the absorption of your foods, you know, we nutrition should be important to everybody, but the older we get, the more we should value it. And I know I'm one to talk. I put on like 15 pounds this year because I've been eating junk. If somebody has a blueberry pie, or there's certain weaknesses that if it's right in front of my face, I'm not going to say no to it. And chocolate, oh my God, you know, the Superman and kryptonite. Okay, already you saw that I put turmeric in this, and you saw I put that little bit of red pepper flakes. I put the mirepoix in this. I'm going to shake some ground coriander in this. Coriander is really brightening. You ever smelled coriander? Coriander is a spice that comes from the seed pods of a plant that the leaf part of it is often used in Mexican cooking. And the leaf part of it's called cilantro. And what you do is you just grow a cilantro plant, and when it goes to and it flowers and it goes to seed, it has these nice little white seed pods. They look like white pepper, but you very carefully cut them, let them dry, and so you get two different spices out of one plant. I think cilantro is just wonderful. It doesn't last long once you've harvested it. I used to buy it usually at Mexican markets to use in whenever I was making tacos or burritos, or also when I first started making this, I would use that as a garnish. Use it at the very end. Cilantro doesn't seem to be a spice that you boil and cook down a lot, unless you're making. There's certain spices, and it's a Spanish word. I'm trying to remember what it is. Molido, maybe it's a green cooking spice that is made from cilantro, and I've seen little jars of it. Not good, Dan. Hi. Tiger, I wish you wouldn't take things down before I get to see them. Can I put this someplace for a bit? Because it's kind of making it hard for me to see things. But, throw in some cumin here. I'm going to throw in some ground cinnamon. Not as much because cinnamon can really overpower something. If I was to accidentally double up on cinnamon, then I would just have to double up on everything else because you don't want that to be a predominant spice. I'm going to use both of these kinds of curry powder, this stuff here, and I'm going to use a little bit less of this because you see how bright the yellow is? That would mean it would probably have a lot more turmeric in it, and turmeric if you use too much of it, it can skew very bitter. And depending on what kind of flavor palette you're accustomed to, not everybody is used to so much bitter. And I've learned that that can be an acquired taste. I got exposed to Indian cuisines rather later in life than a lot of Americans, I'm guessing. See, people that were born 10, 20, 30 years ago, I think they're kind of at an advantage because they had, in theory, access to so many cultures of food. And I would think that one of the really great things about being in a multicultural society is you have access to so many different kinds of food. Even if you can't afford to go and try all these restaurants, you have, in theory, access to so much. And getting exposed to different things, like I eat in a Hare Krishna temple, I'm going to learn about different kind of vegetarian, oftentimes Indian cooking. And some of their food is so sublime. And not all of it would I necessarily want to cook because of the calorie count and because the cooking can be kind of dangerous. Like if you have to deep fry big cauliflower heads, you've got to be able to safely boil, fry, use a deep fryer, and there's always risks in handling things like that. But I love the batter dipped cauliflower. And then they have this one dessert that I'm not sure what it's called, but I guess it's made with wheat and it's dry and crumbly and it's the color of brown sugar. And a lot of times it has raisins in it. And it's kind of oily, but not in a bad way. I probably don't want to know what the calorie is, but it is so good. It's not wet, it's not sloppy, it's not creamy or anything like that. And it's so good. I don't know what it's called, but I recognize it in a heartbeat. And when they give this out, they call it prasadam because they offer it to Krishna first. And they give it to you to take home, share with your friends, whatever. And I would literally take giant takeout coffee cups with it. You can bring takeout containers. I would get back on the bus back into Hollywood because our Hare Krishna temple is in Culver City on Watsika Avenue. And if it's changed, well, I stand to be corrected. But you can, if you're curious about the stuff that they do, they have a webcam on throughout the temple 24/7 on ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness, ISKON. Their site, I believe, is lalive.com or .net, I don't remember, but LA Live. And you get to see some of the things they do. They get up, the monks or the devotees get up really, really, really early in the morning to do things. And they're just so strict with them. They really are. I wish you could smell this. I'm going to throw in some parsley. Okay, now it's time for some garlic. And since this is minced garlic, it does really well with being put in boiling water. One thing I noticed, mice seem to have an aversion to garlic and onions. If you have all these root vegetables around, they will definitely help themselves. They love root vegetables. They love potatoes. They love sweet potatoes, but they will not touch onions. They will not touch garlic. So I notice, as far as bagels go, they don't seem to touch everything bagels or onion bagels. It can be a real challenge keeping food away from the mice. Okay, there's something else I'm going to throw in by a company called Spice It, and it says vegetable flake. I'm going to shake it up real good so I can see just what it is before I actually throw it in. Because if it's nothing but carrots, I don't want to do that. And you see, this does have a lot of carrots. I'm glad I looked at the first. Ooh, I'm getting burned. Okay, I'm going to take this handful. I'm going to throw that in there. Now, according to the label, it says this has white peas, crushed peas, chopped carrots, chopped onions, parsley flakes, and celery. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid on that. That water is gonna be boiling a while. So anything dehydrated will have plenty of time to soften up. You know what? I'm gonna turn the fire down a little bit because I'm tired of getting spit on. I don't want to use this as a colander because I have never washed it yet. This is wonderful. Look what I got here. I got nutmeg, I got mustard powder, and I've got ginger paste. Oh, yeah. Now, I noticed a lot of people don't use ginger if they also use coriander. But guess what? I do. Shed gang for life. Hey, laser guided opossum launcher. Hey, I like possums. They're so cute. They eat bugs. They eat ticks, and they got such fuzzy little faces. And they got. I like critters. What can I say? I think some spiders are cute. Somebody posted in on this Facebook group called Endomemology. It looked like it was a turtle with a smiley face, except it had antenna with eyes in the base of it, and a person was holding it. Turned out to be a giant cockroach of some kind. And I'm thinking, oh my god, how can I think a cockroach is cute? But it's a close up of his face, and they were holding it, and it was really big, and it was obviously somebody's pet. So, uh, okay, this is a company. They make a lot of spices at the dollar stores. Pirelli. They have spices. They have cookies. I think it's a international import export company. And it says designed in USA, product of China, or produced in China for Allied International. Uh, but you know what? Fuck it. I got it at the dollar store. Kev, hello. I'm gonna. Of course, my hand's wet. I'm just gonna make me look bad on camera. It's fucked up. Now, you know what I should do is always hit the lid. Right? You son of a bitch. Ah, okay. Oh, you should smell this. It smells like ginger. Now, I've had ginger roots before, like turmeric. You gotta cut them in the slivers and then chop them up and stir fry them. Uh, I think they're easier to deal with than turmeric root, though, because they're easier to chop up after you sliver them. For some reason, it's because turmeric is very fibrous. Okay, I'm gonna. Uh, I don't want to. You want to be very careful not to contaminate something like this. So I'm going to use the edge of a chopstick, and I'm going to take a nice. See that? Oh, that's generous. That may have been. You know what? Oh, that shouldn't be too much. You figure this liquid is going to cook down to be kind of sort of a sauce. What's a sauce now? And potatoes are going to absorb into this. And one thing I can do with this now that I have them taking up so little space in the pot, you could see you got 2 or 3 extra inches of space here. So that means that I can add a few more potatoes. Now, obviously, I'm probably going to want to cut these smaller so that they cook up faster. Okay. See, these will cook up quickly. Here. Yeah. I'll take this little so-called yellow one. And I'll cut them also in fours so they really cook quickly. I could throw one more in. She's hungry. See, my mom takes a lot of medications, and some of them you take with food. I'm gonna cut this thinner. I didn't even think. I'm trying to think. What the heck did I eat today? I didn't have time to eat today, honestly. Between doing things around the house and I think it started to spit rain last time I was out. Shit gang for life. Cindy Lauper comes to mind. Great fashion. Mm, this is more cumin than that thing. Matter of fact, let me think. If that container is running really, really low. Oh yeah, look at that. I could just refill it with this. I'd use a funnel, but you know what? I just don't feel it. All right. I got rid of a nice big container. I can put that in recycling. Actually, I should check to see if it's the right kind of plastic for that. But now I may or may not reuse this. Uh, I noticed I didn't bother wearing bracelets this time because I knew I'd be cooking. Sometimes I forget and I realize, is this really going to get in the way or get snagged on something, you know? Uh, Everybody doesn't use this, but this is paprika. I'm going to throw in a little bit of this. It's too bad I don't have green and red bell peppers. A lot of times I throw this in. I'm going to keep the potatoes that I just put in on the top thing so that I can make sure of their doneness. I still turned the fire down a little bit because I didn't. First of all, I was tired of getting spit on. Second of all, I don't want so much of it to turn to mush that I wasted all. I mean, you saw all the stuff that I actually have. I really made sure to have a lot, and I knew that there'd be some cooking down, but I didn't want the water to boil down and the potatoes to be up here and having to keep on adding water to it or something. I tried to be a good judge of how much water needed when I boiled it ahead of time. So, because I wanted this not to have to be too long, you know, and I don't want her to die of starvation before it gets done either. Now, let me see. Uh, no, I don't. You know when I like to sometimes add tomato products when I'm making lentils, and I'm pretty sure I've done lentils on my channel already. I don't want to necessarily do a live stream of something that I've already made. Something tells me I probably have cooked potatoes on, but you know what? If I did, oh well. I'm not going to use this, but this is something that I love, sesame oil. But this is not something that's really safe to cook with because at higher temperatures, sesame oil will turn carcinogenic. But as a dipping sauce, putting this in with soy sauce and maybe some sliced scallions and use that over your pot stickers. Oh my goodness, it's just so good. Oh, and Tiger, I'm going to show something that you gave me that I still rave and rave and rave about that I love so much. Oh, Tiger, do you remember getting me this? La Tourangelle makes this. It's called organic toasted sunflower oil. This is so good. This is so healthy. Has this has well, it talks all this stuff about the nutritional value of it. I like to put this over cooked white rice, and I salt it, pepper if I have it. This just as a drizzle on top adds a nuttiness to it. This is sublime. You can drizzle a little bit of this over steamed green beans that you put over that white rice. Just it adds something. It elevates it. It smells so good. I'm gonna smell it now. Mmm, this is good stuff. And see, it says 10 grams of omega 9 per serving. And it says you can use it to saute with too. Um, oh, I love this stuff. This is good. This is uh, I'm def- I would hesitate to say this is Epicurean. This is gourmet. Uh, and good for you. And it says USDA organic. It's got the kosher seal of approval. Really wonderful. Hey, I want to ask anybody who's ever cooked with jackfruit before. I came across this, and I've never worked with it before. Supposedly, it's the sort of thing that takes on flavor of anything and everything. Uh, I don't know. This here has a recipe for vegetarian chicken, but I don't know. See, the thing is, one of the ingredients in this recipe is mayonnaise, and I really don't like mayo. But and I know I could just go do a bunch of searches, but I haven't. Oh, you know what's good? Black bean sauce. I had for the longest time. I had some dehydrated fermented black beans. I got them from one of the little Asian markets a couple blocks away, and I mean they last for decades. And I think I finally threw them out when the mice got into them, but they were so good. You could make anything with a black bean sauce just by throwing them in, like in stir fries and stuff. But anyway, I have this and I've never opened it up. And I just got this a couple of days ago. Um, I love the noodles they make. Oh, I will tell her you said so. Wish you could smell this kitchen. Uh, and I just told her you said so. She's my mom. And oh, gonna give a plug. I'm not sponsored by anybody, but I've been drinking a lot of coffee by this company called Royal Cup, and this is supposed to be made in a hotel room. They have these tiny little coffee makers. Well, yeah, I gotta stir this. Well, I use these to brew a 10-cup pot at home, and you've seen how I make my coffee. I stick it in a carafe, and I let it steep like a tea bag. As soon as these little pieces get softened, this will be done. But this, and right now I'm making decaf since it is now 11:33 at night. But you know what? I'm gonna have one more cup of non-decaffeinated, if you don't mind, because I think I'm a bit immune to it at this point. Uh, my mom is telling me that she sometimes gets heartburn, and I was telling her that I don't think this stuff is was going to do it to her, because I don't have a whole lot of exceedingly spicy things. This is really great because you can adjust the spice level to your own comfort. One thing I've noticed is when you add a spicy pepper to the cooking in the beginning, the heat seems to intensify it. That's interesting because the same principle doesn't seem to happen with garlic. If you start with garlic early in a cooking process, the garlic seems to become less pungent. And with onions also, they cook down and they sweeten up, and so you can get two different kinds of tastes from the same onion just by starting off early in the cooking with that onion and then using some of it raw in the very end. I love the texture. So I guess it's nice to make sure that everybody else loves onions. When you're cooking for more than one person, you always should ask what people like and what they hate. Like, for instance, I hate cheese, so I can't eat anything with cheese. So I would want to know right away if there is cheese in something. And if there's milk in something, I'd want to know about it. Not because of an allergy, but because I don't like creamy things. It's like it's one thing if it's something where there's only the tiniest little bit of milk, but it's mostly not. Like mashed potatoes, for some reason, some people make put milk in them. I don't put them in mine, but that said, I like mine real dry. But with this, what's happening is some of the potatoes are really cooking down, and there's others that are going to be more conventional, and so that makes it ends up becoming infused in all this flavor. Thank you. I know that the skirt had been seen before, but this top I just got, and I wanted something that didn't look like everything. Oh, and I thought that I was going to spot wash part of my scalp when I was taking down my hair, but it wasn't practical to do that. What I ended up doing is I spot dyed parts of my hair. Believe it or not, I used some Easter egg dye, and I experimented with soaking some braids in some things. And I tried to do something about the hair in the very back, the short ones where I think some of my hair is so porous that it just doesn't hold color. And I just wanted to cover up the blonde. And so, anyway, I used some Easter egg dye, but for all I know, it might be so water soluble that the next time I'm out in the rain, it might wash it out. I don't know. But it was just an experiment, really. Another thing I have to cook with, I'm not going to use in this dish, is coconut milk. That even I'm very sparing with because I really don't like creamy consistencies. But sometimes it's useful in curries. Oh, here's something I could have used, but it's too late in the cooking process now. I have some roasted bell peppers. I could have used them. I could have thrown them in after the mirepoix. But you know what? I'm not going to do it now because I can't imagine they'd soften up. But you know what? I'm going to throw some in because why not, right? Wish you could smell them. They smell very like bell peppers, and that's exactly what I want. All right. I'm going to take a few of these strips and I'm going to put them in that. And see what the cap says. The Mezzetta family of finest ferns. Mezzetta, uh, from Napa Valley. Um, I'm going cross-eyed trying to read this. But the slogan is "Don't forget the Mezzetta." Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I put that in here. I'm going to throw in some more oil. Oops. Make it a little bit more than I was going to put. Now, I want to stir this. So at this point, it's very important to stir to keep things from burning. As soon as those hard pieces of potato that I just threw in get soft, This is done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the fire under this, and I'm going to soften up. Oh, and this is already soft. It's totally fork tender. I'm going to mash this up, and I'm going to fry it up. I want you to see what this looks like. You see that? I know I got all these things in the way here. And fire on this. Uh, mm, this is smelling so good. Now this is might not look very appetizing. Probably looks almost like baby food at this point. I'm gonna try real hard not to get this. I'm gonna turn to the side here so you can see that orange. It's a sweet potato in here. Make sure that everything is hard, is soft rather. You can tell by tapping if the potato is not quite cooked. This is almost done. I don't want to wear this on myself. This will be, I'd have to go to the hospital. Okay, I'm going to turn the fire off on this. You notice how it continues to cook when the fire is still off? You want to here's some ASMR. Hear this? Mmm. I'm going to try very hard to give a look that doesn't make this. I know this looks messy. Just ignore the mess. Look at the food, okay? Now I'm going to add this to this. Okay. And this is where the oil is really important because I'm going to incorporate all the oil that I threw in here. This is just about done. Now to reheat this, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I don't own a microwave, okay, so that's not an option for me. You can take this, put it in a heap, and then you can put it on a tray like this with oil on the bottom, okay, and then you can stick it in my toaster oven. You've seen the toaster oven. That's a lot easier than trying to heat it on the stovetop again, but you can also make a double boiler by, say, putting some of that in one of these that has it's slightly greased, and then put this in a bigger pot, and you put water in that bigger pot, and make sure that there's not so much water in it that it would overflow when you put this back in. Then you put that on the stove, and then you turn the fire on, and that's using a double boiler. And that's a way to reheat this, because if you try to reheat it as is with this container, it will burn on the bottom, I guarantee you, and you don't want that to happen. I hate when you go through all the time and effort to cook something and you burn it. That just totally sucks. Okay, see what I'm doing? I'm gonna guess that that stuff should be cooked by now. Everything else inside here is cooked. Here, you can tell this is okay now. Forks are great because you could see that it's mashed down real good. It was already soft before they bottled this up. Okay. I put about half of it in, and I'm folding it in. You got to be careful not to splash yourself because it is splashing. And this stuff does hurt. You can use a splatter screen like some people use when they're making hamburgers and stuff, but the starch that hits when it boils over, then you got to clean it out of them real good. And right now, it's real hard for me to wash dishes because the sink is all filled up here. I have to take them one at a time and wash them in another sink, and it's really hard. I can't keep up with all this housework. I honestly can't. I am not getting enough sleep, and the time that I have to spend cooking, and I don't always do it. Sometimes it's easy to just take something out of the freezer, but sometimes she's really on a stickler for things with more dense nutritional content. And I don't blame her. I mean, shouldn't everybody have the most nutritionally complete and balanced meals? And especially if you have underlying health conditions, like in her case, heart failure and stuff, then you really want to get all your vitamins and you want to eat in a more of a heart healthy manner. And this is very heart healthy, as you can tell, with the exception of the oil that I'm using for some parts of the process. And a lot of times, you need fats for in order to get the nutritional value out of things. Like for instance, fat-free salad dressings really aren't a great idea because so many of the things in the salad dressings that would otherwise be so good for you, if you don't have some fat, your body doesn't make use of the vitamins. This would be where uh, a spatula would come in handy. And the thing is, there's one in the other sink, but it's not cleaned. And anyway, there you have it. You fold these things into it. Now, the one thing you might notice I didn't add was any extra salt. There's salt in with the cooking water, so there is salt infused into things. This is what it all looks like now. Okay, and I don't want anything to burn, so I'm taking it off the fire. This is Indian potatoes. And you saw the kind of spices that I used. And this is roughly what's in there. And if I make that, it's always a little bit different because sometimes you have more a certain kind of root vegetables. If you can get your hands on a turnip is so good in this. Wait a minute, this is chat disconnected. I'm not messing with this. No, this is just the built-in. This is a Dell Inspiron 15 3000 model 3525. It has all the features that I wanted, except it doesn't have the backlit keyboard. And I love backlit keyboards because they're so much easier to see in low light conditions. I'm going to serve my mother right now, okay? Let me see. Mom, do you have a plate? Okay. She is stoked and ready to eat. And let's figure out I always like smaller plates because a lot of times your eyes are bigger than your stomach. But I can't tell you how many times I gave her something and she ended up only eating half of it. And I stick it in the fridge, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, I find it, and it's a science experiment, and it's food goes to waste, and that's not good. So I'm gonna now. When you find a bay leaf, that's one thing that you're always gonna have to take out because they never get soft. But this is what it looks like. It looks like kind of like a lot of people's idea of mashed potatoes. Now, just so you know, I'm the kind of mashed potatoes girl I am. I like them lumpy. I like pieces of potato in. I love skins. I don't care for the real sloppy, soft, creamy. I don't like that texture in my food. I like texture, and so long as everything is cooked enough, you don't really want your potatoes hard. That's really that's the one thing you don't want. But you don't want things to burn either. And if I hadn't taken this off the fire, it would have started to burn on the bottom. And I'm so sick and tired of cleaning burned things. I tried to cook a bunch of fresh green beans last week. You see what I did? I have a bit of trouble with burning things on the stove. And cleaning it is a pain in the ass. I got my hands on a bunch of chlorine bleach cleanser, cleanser powder, and that stuff's great. But you can't use it on everything. Like you can't use it on non-stick things. But that's why I don't boil things in non-stick thing. That way, if I burn it, I don't fucking know. Okay, I'm gonna bring this into my mother. Okay, I think she's happy with. Um, Let me sample it for myself. Let me find. All right. Okay. Now she's happy with it. She hasn't said that anything is undercooked. No. I will tell you what I think. I heard her say, good. I'm not gonna eat a whole crap load of it because, well, I'm not. But yeah, I was definitely gonna. I'd heard something about the dollar store up at Central Pier. There might be a sale going on. I'm thinking, oh, I'd like to go. Maybe go this weekend. And here, place is burning up as we speak. Yes. Okay. This is old recipe, Indian potatoes. Adjust the seasonings depending on what you have. You could add more protein to this by throwing some cooked ground beef in this if you wanted. You could maybe add a tiny little bit of tomato in it, but not too much because you don't want to overpower it. Uh, Sometimes it's good to maybe start with a little less water than you think you need, just so that it doesn't end up as soupy. If you had a little less water in it, maybe it would be a little less moist. But then again, when you have extra water and you add extra pieces of potatoes, you have to allow extra time for them to cook down. And that's the one thing you don't want is undercooked potato. You want the potato cooked enough, but theoretically have it dry, and maybe everything doesn't have to cook down, just be soft enough. You could also just mash potatoes, cook them, in quarters, boil them in salted water, then drain them, but save some of the water, and put the water in with those spices. But there's something to be said for actually infusing the spices in the cooking water, and that's why if you take the time to do that, I think more complex flavors. Okay, I'm happy with this. Well, I'm not going to bore you with my eating it the rest of the night. So I'm going to end the stream, but thank you for watching. And this is easy to make. If you have potatoes, maybe you can make it. And if you're Indian, I hope I didn't offend you because you know, anything I say for the most part, it's out of love. I think you guys know that. Right? All right. Have a good night. Be safe and don't take any wooden nickels. Good night.